has come back from the brink. Let's see if he can pull out a victory over Mark Coleman.
In The Smashing Machine, you saw the man behind the machine. If that duality haunted you, strength and fragility colliding, then these 5 films will stay in your bones long after the credits roll. By the by, I'm the movie guy and let's start this list. To start this list, let's go back in time, before MMA cages, before Rocky, before the sports films became what we know today. If The Smashing Machine showed you the raw truth behind the fighter's life, then this next film was one of the first to ever do it. Requiem for a Heavyweight is a stark and deeply human drama about Mountain Rivera, a once great boxer whose career is ended by injury. With his body broken and his future uncertain, Rivera struggles to find dignity in a world that only valued him for his ability to fight. Anthony Quinn delivers a powerhouse performance, supported by Jackie Gleason and Mickey Rooney, in a story that strips away any glamour from the fight game. What makes this film so powerful is its honesty. Long before sports dramas became mainstream, it painted fighters as real people, vulnerable, flawed, and often exploited by the system around them. Just like The Smashing Machine, it's not about the glory of competition, but the emotional wreckage left behind when the cheers fade. It remains one of the most heartbreaking and influential combat sports films ever made. If The Smashing Machine made you feel the bruises of early MMA, then this next film shows the sport at its most dramatic, not just in the cage, but at the heart of a family divided. Warrior, directed by Gavin O'Connor, tells the story of 2 estranged brothers, Tommy and Brendan, who enter the same high-stakes MMA tournament. Tommy is a haunted ex-Marine carrying the scars of war, while Brendan is a schoolteacher fighting to keep his family afloat. At the center of their conflict is the recovering alcoholic father, played by Nick Nolte in an Oscar-nominated role. The film builds to an emotional showdown that is as heartbreaking as it is brutal. What makes Warrior stand out is how it balances the raw intensity of MMA with deeply personal storytelling. Every punch and takedown carries emotional weight, reflecting years of pain, regret, and fractured relationships. Much like The Smashing Machine, it's not just about who wins inside the cage, it's about the cost of survival, both physically and mentally. So far, we looked at stories of survival and redemption, but sometimes the most haunting fight isn't in the ring at all. It's psychological, chilling, and impossible to escape. Foxcatcher, directed by Bennett Miller, recounts the unsettling true story of Olympic gold medal wrestler Mark Schultz and his complex relationship with eccentric billionaire John DuPont. DuPont invites Schultz and his brother Dave to train at his private estate, promising to build a wrestling dynasty. What begins as an opportunity of a lifetime spirals into a toxic mix of control, obsession, and manipulation that leads to shocking tragedy. What makes Foxcatcher so powerful is its atmosphere: cold, slow-burning, and suffocating. Carell's unrecognizable, unnerving performance shows how ambition and loneliness can curdle into danger. The film strips away the glamour of wrestling and exposes the vulnerability of those who give their lives to the sport. Like The Smashing Machine, it reveals the dark underbelly of competition, where human fragility and unchecked power collide with devastating consequences. If The Smashing Machine showed how a fighter's body can break under the weight of his own battles, this next film shows what happens when an entire family of fighters carries that burden together. The Iron Claw, directed by Sean Durkin, tells the heartbreaking true story of the Von Erich family, one of wrestling's most legendary dynasties. Zac Efron stars as Kevin Von Erich, the last surviving brother, navigating the crushing expectations of his father Fritz and the tragic fate that befell nearly all his siblings. The film follows their rise in the wrestling world, packed with physical intensity, but focuses on the devastating personal cost of chasing greatness at any price. What makes The Iron Claw so affecting is its emotional honesty. It's not just a sports story, it's a family tragedy about love, loss, and the weight of legacy. Just like The Smashing Machine, it reminds us that behind the spectacle of combat sports are fragile human beings fighting battles that no spotlight can ever heal. It's raw, devastating, and unforgettable. And finally, if there's one film that feels like the spiritual twin of The Smashing Machine, it's this one. A raw, unflinching portrait of a man whose body and spirit have both been through hell. Darren Aronofsky's The Wrestler stars Mickey Rourke in a career-defining role as Randy the Ram Robinson, a faded professional wrestling star from the 1980s who's now broken down, estranged from his daughter, and barely surviving on indie shows and autograph signings. As Randy faces the harsh reality of aging out of the only life he's ever known, he's torn between chasing one last shot at glory and accepting life outside of the spotlight. What makes The Wrestler unforgettable is his brutal honesty once again. Rourke's performance feels lived in, carrying the weight of every scar, every regret, and every fleeting moment of joy inside the ring. The film doesn't glamorize wrestling, it humanizes it, showing both the pain and the fleeting beauty of a performer who only feels alive when the crowd is chanting his name. Like the Smashing Machine, it's devastating, intimate, and impossible to shake. Before we wrap up, there's one more film that can't go unmentioned. It's not MMA and it's not new, but it set the standard for how brutal and personal a combat sports story could be. Marty Scorsese's Raging Bull is a black and white masterpiece about real-life middleweight boxer Jake LaMotta, played by Robert De Niro in an Oscar-winning performance. The film follows LaMotta's rise through the boxing ranks, but its focus is on his self-destructive jealousy, paranoia, and inability to separate his rage in the ring from his life outside of it. With Joe Pesci and Kathy Moriarty giving equally powerful turns, the film is less about boxing than it is about obsession, violence, and the cost of pride. What makes Raging Bull endure is its intensity, both physical and psychological. Scorsese's filmmaking is raw, unflinching, and deeply human, stripping away the myth of the champion to reveal the man underneath. Just like the Smashing Machine, he shows us that the most dangerous fights are often the ones happening far away from the crowd. So there you have it, 5 powerful films plus one classic that capture the same raw intensity and emotional weight of the Smashing Machine. Each of these stories reminds us that behind every fighter, every wrestler, every champion, there's a human being carrying battles we may never see. Which one of these films have you seen and which will you watch next? Drop your picks in the comments, I love to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and stick around for more movie recommendations that dig beneath the surface. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on watching movies, guys.